that's how we age quickly. So the third thing is that it improves our digestive function, and we know that people that have weight loss issues, that the 8 hours of sleep makes you skinny.
Right.
It absolutely does. It makes a huge difference. So if you don't do anything else on your weight loss plan, get 8 hours of sleep. Okay. So that was actually kind of almost my 1 and my 2, because the first was to sleep by 10 or 10:30, and the second was to get 8 hours of sleep. The other thing I want to mention, though, is the brain, because your brain is very much like a computer, and we've learned more recently in a lot of the new studies that have come out just actually this year. There was a boom in information about neuropsychology and addiction and a whole bunch of different things related to brain health. And when you go into your deeper states of sleep, and when you sleep 8 hours, we actually find that IQ goes up, memory goes up, and your life is much, much more efficient. Your brain defrags at night. It clips all those little sensory input, little information, people you passed you didn't need to know, things you took in you didn't need to know, and it goes and cleans house. It gets rid of everything that you don't need, and what we find is the next morning the brain uses much less energy. It's like it's taking the load off of it. So it's able to actually function and focus, and like you mentioned, that you're only working with 20 or 30% of your brain if you don't let it defrag at night. So that's why it has to do that. Very important. All right, the number 3 is decrease your processed foods. Give it up. If God didn't grow it that way on a vine, don't eat it. If cattle aren't raised that way and fed that way in the wild, if that's not their nature, don't eat it. Okay, begin to make that change. There's a reason why life was designed that way, and the great designer had a much better way of doing it than the reductionist kind of nutrition that we're exposed to every day. What happens is that they take a living thing and they break it into 100 pieces. It's like taking a car, breaking it down into parts and selling you the parts. The parts are worth more than the whole, except to you. Because what are you going to do with a car door, right, or an alternator? What do you need? But the bottom line is they get more money that way. And so that's why we break everything down, and we think that the whole, if we put the sum back together again, it was a whole. If we took a body and we took the heart out and the brain out and the liver out and the blood out and this and that, and I handed all that stuff to you in a box, it would not be a living being. It doesn't have that life force, that energy. Eat for life. Eat the life force in the food. That's what you're using it for. That's the reason you're fueling it up. Not to fill yourself up. It's to act as the life force that you're going to use then to be who you are, to show up in your life and do the good that you want to do, right? To be the joy, to dance, to move, to leave something important behind, to kiss, to love, to make love. All of that comes from the life force within us, and that's where it comes from. It comes from our food. So giving up the processed food is huge, and there's 3 areas that I would really just share with you a little bit. One is we're learning a lot more about the microbiome. This is the bacteria in our good intestine. A lot of people don't, our good bacteria in our intestine, a lot of people don't realize that 90% of the cells that you call you are not human. Did you know that? Most of them are bacteria. And you call them you. They do affect our brain. They decide whether we have anxiety or whether we're calm. They produce our anti-inflammatories for us or our inflammatory chemicals. So what we feed them is really, really important. It turns out there are good ones, there are bad ones. They're not bad, it's just they show up to eat whatever we give them. If we give them trash, then the ones that grow on trash. Break that down. If we give them food, then the ones that grow on food break that down for us and give us access to more of it. More minerals, more nutrients, increase the protein in it. So here's what I want you to hear out of that, is that when you eat things that have preservatives in them, preservatives are not selective, they kill your bacteria. You ate food that the digestion of which was 90% dependent on those good bacteria, but you put a preservative in it so that it wouldn't rot on the shelf, so that you will buy it, so that you can eat it, so that your body can't rot it, which is what the point of eating it was. To release the energy through that rotting process. Do you understand what I'm saying? In the meantime, you took a pesticide that killed your best friends. Be careful. Make those changes. Nutrient density is the next piece I would say about that. Eat the colors. You've heard that. The brighter, the deeper, the darker the colors, the better it is for you. And the third thing I'd say is pH. When we are meat and water, right? And when we get really acidic, how do you tenderize a steak? You put acid on it, right? You want your chicken to be tender, you put lemon juice on it, right? What breaks us down is a body that is very, very acidic in nature. And that comes from lots of sugar, coffee, sodas, starches. Okay, so that acidity, we've got to offset that by eating our vegetables. They're the alkaline things, and getting our minerals. Okay, that's really important. So number 3 would be eat fewer processed foods. Just wean out what you can. Pick 1 or 2 things and change that one meal or that one habit, right? It's just a habit. It'll go away. Choose something better, more fun.